Welcome to The Art of Con, the series that delves into the fascinating world of deception and fraud. In this first episode, we'll be exploring the Great Salad Oil Swindle, a captivating tale of deceit, manipulation, and the human desire for wealth and power. Join us on this journey as we uncover the intricate details of this extraordinary event and learn how it changed the way we approach financial regulation today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we explore the Great Salad Oil Swindle and its impact on the financial industry. Chapter 1. Setting the Scene. The 1960s were a decade of change and upheaval. It was a time when the civil rights movement was in full swing, the Vietnam War was raging, and the counterculture movement was challenging traditional values. It was also a time of economic growth, as the United States experienced a period of sustained prosperity, and its people were feeling optimistic about their future. During this time, the commodities market was booming. The demand for goods like oil, metals, and agricultural products was high, and investors were eager to get in on the action. While most people were focused on building their careers and raising their families, one man had his sights set on something else entirely. His name was Anthony DeAngelis, and he was about to launch one of the biggest financial frauds you've never heard of. Chapter 2. The Mastermind. Anthony, Tino, DeAngelis' rise to notoriety was anything but predictable. DeAngelis was born in Brooklyn in 1915 and grew up in a working-class family. DeAngelis began working at a young age, helping to sell products to customers. He quickly developed a talent for salesmanship, and his father encouraged him to pursue a career in business. After graduating from high school, DeAngelis went to work for a company that sold vegetable oil, where he quickly established himself as a top-performing salesman. It wasn't long before he found his niche in the salad oil industry. Yes, you heard that right, and well, it's in the title, the salad oil industry. DeAngelis was a man who loved the game of risk-taking. He was always on the lookout for the next big deal. And he wasn't afraid to take a gamble. He had a unique talent for spotting the flaws in the system and exploiting them to his advantage. He founded his own company, Allied Crude Vegetable Oil Refining Corporation. It's a mouthful. Which would become the foundation for his fraudulent activities. Chapter 3. The Con. DeAngelis knew how to play the game. He understood the intricacies of the commodities market and used that knowledge to his advantage. In the commodities market, the price of vegetable oil was highly volatile, making it difficult for investors to predict the market. DeAngelis' big break came when he realized that he could exploit this volatility by creating the illusion that his company had far more salad oil in storage than it actually did. He began to put his plan into action by buying up empty tanks, filling them with water and a small amount of oil on top. He was able to fool inspectors into thinking that his company had a vast supply of salad oil. DeAngelis was a master of deception, and he was able to convince his clients that the tanks were full of oil. He had a team of workers who would add food coloring to the water to make it look like the real deal. He even went so far as to add the aroma of salad oil to the tanks to make it seem more convincing. DeAngelis' scheme was a massive success. He then used these falsified documents to secure massive loans and sell fake oil to unsuspecting buyers, pocketing millions in the process. He was able to con millions of dollars out of the biggest names in the commodities trading industry. This allowed him to maintain a constant flow of cash, which he used to fund his extravagant lifestyle and pay off his investors. He would wine and dine them, taking them out to expensive dinners and showering them with gifts. He would also give them regular updates on their investments, making them feel as though they were part of something special. This created a sense of loyalty and trust. He became a millionaire overnight, and his reputation as a genius trader grew even further. As the DeAngelis empire grew, so did his confidence. He started buying up more and more tanks and filling them with water and soybean oil. He even convinced the banks to lend more money by using the fraudulent tanks as collateral. It seemed like nothing could stop him. Chapter 4. The Scam Unfolds. In the late 1950s, Anthony DeAngelis' salad oil scam was in full swing. He had convinced banks and investors that he had large quantities of salad oil stored in tanks in various locations across the United States. The tanks were supposed to be filled with soybean oil, but in reality, they were filled with water. DeAngelis had convinced American Express to issue warehouse receipts for the non-existent salad oil he claimed to have stored in tanks. These receipts were then used as collateral for the loans DeAngelis took out from the banks. But as the price of soybean oil began to drop, DeAngelis' scheme began to unravel. Investors became suspicious and started to withdraw their investments. Banks, too, began to investigate the collateral DeAngelis had used to secure his loans. When American Express discovered the fraud, they tried to cover it up by buying back the receipts from the banks at a premium price. This allowed DeAngelis to continue his scheme for a while longer. However, when the banks eventually caught on to the fraud and demanded payment from American Express, the company was forced to take a huge loss. The financial losses incurred as a result of the Great Salad Oil Swindle were staggering. The total amount lost by investors, banks, and insurance companies was estimated to be around $150 million at the time, which is equivalent to around $1.5 billion in today's money. After the Great Salad Oil Swindle was exposed, Anthony DeAngelis fled to Europe in an attempt to evade arrest and prosecution. He spent several months moving between various countries, using false identities and staying in luxury hotels. However, he was eventually caught by Italian authorities and extradited to the United States to face trial. Chapter 5. Trial. The trial lasted for nearly 3 months, and the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence against the defendants. The evidence included documents, wiretaps, and witness testimonies, which revealed the extent of the fraud. The prosecution argued that DeAngelis and his accomplices had used fake warehouse receipts to secure loans from banks and credit agencies. They also showed how DeAngelis had used his personal connections to ensure that the fraudulent receipts were accepted by American Express without question. The defense, on the other hand, tried to paint DeAngelis as a victim of circumstances. After a long and intense trial, the jury found DeAngelis guilty of multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison. However, the government continued to investigate the fraud and discovered evidence of further criminal activity, including attempts to bribe a juror during the trial. As a result of this additional evidence, DeAngelis was retried on additional charges, including bribery and perjury. During the second trial, the jury found DeAngelis guilty on all counts, and he was subsequently sentenced to an additional 13 years in prison. DeAngelis served his sentence in a federal prison in Pennsylvania and was released on parole in 1979 after serving 11 years. Despite his release, he continued to maintain his innocence until his death in 1980. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. During the trial, it was revealed that the salad oil swindle was not an isolated case, but rather one in a series of financial frauds that had occurred in the 1950s. These frauds had taken advantage of the booming post-war economy and the lax financial regulations of the time. The case brought to light the need for stricter financial regulations and increased oversight to prevent future financial frauds. The direct impact of the fraud was severe and far-reaching. American Express lost millions of dollars, and many of its clients were left with worthless collateral and unpaid loans. Banks that had financed DeAngelis' operations faced huge losses and were forced to write off bad debts. The small business owners who had unwittingly participated in the scam faced bankruptcy, legal battles, and ruined reputations. In total, $1.2 billion was lost. The salad oil swindle had far-reaching consequences, not only for the financial industry but for society as a whole. It highlighted the need for greater financial transparency and regulation to protect investors and prevent future financial frauds. It also showed how greed and deception can have catastrophic consequences and the importance of ethical behavior in the financial sector. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Great Salad Oil Swindle. We hope that this documentary has not only entertained you, but also shed light on the importance of financial regulation and the consequences of unchecked greed. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel, like and comment on this video, and share it with your friends and family. We value your feedback and appreciate your support as we continue to explore the fascinating world of cons and scams in our upcoming series, The Art of Con. Stay tuned for more exciting stories and in-depth analysis on some of history's most notorious frauds. Until next time, stay sharp and stay vigilant.